Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining me today for the Office of the State Superintendent of Education's Cafeteria Staff Training Grant Informational Webinar. As we go through today, I'm going to have everybody on mute, but if you have questions as we go through the presentation, please type them into the chat box in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. And at the end of the presentation, I will go through all of the questions that are asked throughout the presentation. Today, we'll be going over an overview of the grant, who eligible applicants are, funding information, award details, the review process, and important dates. And at the end, I'll answer all questions that are asked throughout the presentation. So in 2019, the Healthy Schools Act provided $100,000 for the Cafeteria Staff Training Grant. The intended population to be reached by the grant are school food service nutrition employees who work at District of Columbia Public Schools, District of Columbia Public Charter Schools, or District of Columbia nonprofit private schools participating in the National School Lunch Program and Healthy Schools Act. The purpose of this grant is to provide school food service nutrition employees with knowledge, training, and tools they need to plan, prepare, and purchase healthy products to create nutritious, safe, and enjoyable school meals. The focus of this grant is to fund training sessions for school food service nutrition employees at schools participating in the National School Lunch Program and Healthy Schools Act in DC. School food service employees are defined as individuals in a school who are responsible for the preparation and serving of all menu items. Additional responsibilities include cleaning, washing, as well as care of equipment. Employees in cafeterias and kitchens include cooks, bakers, dishwashers, and cashiers. Eligible applicants are Columbia Public Schools, public charter schools, and DC nonprofit private schools who participate in the National School Lunch Program, as well as other organizations that support the National School Lunch Program, including food service vendors, food service management companies, training organizations with experienced training schools. Applicants from organizations and certified training organizations must include a minimum of school campuses. Applying organization must experience supporting programs regarding training each school for which the organization provide training. The total of this grant is $100,000. $500 possible that a for partial funding. Funding for this grant will be available for one fiscal year, and there is no carryover allowed with grant funds. Funds must be used to train school food service nutrition employees who work in DCPS, DC Public Charter Schools, or DC nonprofit private schools participating in the National School Lunch Program. Grant funds are to be used solely to provide training to these staff on the knowledge and tools they need to plan, prepare, and purchase healthy products to create nutritious, safe, and enjoyable school meals. Allowable training topics defined by USDA school meal professional standards are detailed in the request for applications and on the following slide. Funds received for this grant may not be combined with other school nutrition program funds and must be tracked and reported on separately. These are all of the allowable training topics for the grant. Again, this can be found within the RFA. Applicants are required to provide training on a minimum of 5 of the USDA school meal professional standard training topics listed in the RFA. Again, based on this list, you must train on a minimum of 5 of those. Funds for this grant must be used for trainings that provide knowledge, skills, and tools that food service nutrition employees need to plan, prepare, and purchase healthy products to create nutritious, safe, and enjoyable school meals. Allowable costs. Funds for this grant may be used for salaries for staff providing the training to school food service nutrition employees, contracting external experts in school meal professional standards to conduct training, registration fees for webinars or in-person training sessions, training supplies and materials. One note is food purchased specifically for culinary training is allowable, but only with prior state agency approval. Training supplies and materials can also include supplies and materials for school and staff engagement as a follow-up to a training session. And finally, funds may be used for school food service nutrition employee salaries or staff stipends for time spent in training. Unallowable costs. Funds for this grant may not be used for food and beverages outside of the previous mentioned culinary training. Funds cannot be used for travel expenses such as hotels, airline tickets, per diem, travel reimbursement, or the like. Funds also cannot be used for transportation costs or overhead costs associated with the training venue. The grant award period will begin on the award date and ends on September 30th, 2020. All funds must be obligated by September 30th, 2020. The procurement in relation to this award must comply with district procurement guidelines. Ensure that all procurement for trainings is conducted in a manner that provides, to the maximum extent possible, open and free competition. If you have questions about procurement procedures, please contact your procurement office. Unexpended funds of the approved grant will be refunded to OSSE for further award to eligible applicants. Trainings provided under this grant will not be given to, granted to, transferred to, leased to, or sold to any person or entity that is not eligible to participate in the grant program as a recipient. Schools must retain grant files and supporting documentation for a term of 3 years plus the current fiscal year after final payment. Reporting requirements. Grantees will be required to complete quarterly reports for the grant. Quarterly reports must include the type of training provided, accomplishments and challenges in expenditure activities, impact of the trainings on the school meal program, and reasons for any unliquidated funds. A template for providing quarterly reports will be provided to grantees. The quarterly report template will include a description of the training, including the training name, the school meals professional standard training topics covered, the training provider, the number of school food service nutrition employees in attendance, the names of the schools or sites that each food service nutrition employee represents, the hours of training provided for each training topic, and a staff sign-in sheet including the names of all staff in attendance. The quarterly report will also include accomplishments and challenges in expenditure activities, impact on the school meal program, reason for any unliquidated funds, and the USDA Child Nutrition Program's professional standard training tracker tool for each employee who attended the training. Application submission requirements. All applications must be submitted using the Enterprise Grants Management System. Applications are due December 6, 2019 at 3:00 p.m. The application contains a contact information section, project overview, project vision and implementation, project justification, budget justification, supporting documentation, and detailed planning expenditures. Prior to submitting an application, you must create, agree to, and save assurances within Central Data. Again, this is a change where Central Data must be completed before you can submit a grant application. Central Data also must be approved once it is submitted. If you have technical questions, please contact the OSSE EGMS Help Desk directly, and they are available Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. No paper applications will be accepted for this grant. Grants will be reviewed and scored by an external peer review panel. The review panel will review and rank each applicant's application, and when the review panel has completed its review, the panel shall make recommendations for award based on the scoring process. OSSE shall make the final funding determination. Competitive preference. The Division of Health and Wellness will provide a competitive preference in reviewing the FY 2020 Cafeteria Staff Training Grant application. The competitive preference is intended to narrow the achievement and opportunity gap by prioritizing schools that earned 1 or 2 stars on the STAR framework. OSSE's competitive preference is also intended to increase the reach of the grant by prioritizing applicants that provide training to cafeteria staff at more schools. After application review based on responses in EGMS, applicants will be awarded additional points based on the following factors. 1 point for each school that is served through the grant, and that is school campuses, as well as 1 additional point for each 1 or 2 star school campus served through the grant. And a outline of the competitive preference as different schools can be for the operate only first all must be submitted through each includes the important October 15th, the update opened. Today, which is not October 13th, in 7. First, at 6 a.m., the application period ends. After November 3 o'clock p.m. will not be able to answer. 13th, a frequently asked question page will be published on the OSSE website and will include all of the questions asked during the pre-application question period, as well as answers to all of those questions. December 6th, 2019 at 3 o'clock p.m. is the application submission deadline. In January of 2020, award notices will be sent, and on September 30th, 2020, the grant period ends. I will now go through and answer all of the questions that were asked. If you have any questions, please feel free to type them into the chat box at this time, and I will go through and begin answering them.